Hey everyone, Data here, and welcome to my guide to everything new in Hockey Legacy Manager 26. If you don't already know, Hockey Legacy Manager, or HLM, is an offline hockey management game which is in the family of franchise mode type games and is available to play on Android, iOS, or Steam. In HLM, you'll be able to manage your own team, draft players, make trades, and lead your team to victory in the most realistic hockey manager game available. Season simulation is fast and can be completed in under 2 minutes. Players and teams are fully customizable, and no internet connection is required for this game, which checks a ton of boxes for franchise mode fans such as myself. Now, as you would know if you've watched my channel before, my bread and butter is EA NHL franchise mode, but over the last year, I've also gotten into HLM, so much so that we did a multi-year livestream series on HLM 25, as well as a behemoth guide video which went through every little detail that HLM has to offer. Now, a year later, I was going to make an updated version of my Ultimate Guide to Everything HLM video, just like I usually do on an annual basis for EA NHL games, but so much has been added, not changed, added to HLM 26 that an already long video of close to 2.5 hours would have quite literally brought us to a 3+ hour runtime. So instead of making a brand new guide, I decided to just make an update video for all of you about the new features on HLM 26 in particular, while also recommending that if you are totally new to HLM, you should take a look at my HLM 25 guide, which is still fully applicable to HLM 26. So that will be linked in the description as well as in the top right corner as a card on your screen right now. Without going into a huge speech, it is just such an incredible breath of fresh air to play HLM as a game that isn't only great, but continues to improve on itself every year without just putting out the same product on an annual basis with minimal tweaks to make money. The developer is also very easily reachable and extremely receptive to any questions, suggestions, issues related to bugs. They may send them through their email or even on their subreddit, which is like night and day when it comes to what we experience in the EA NHL franchise mode world. And speaking of EA NHL franchise mode, I mentioned earlier that HLM is in that family of franchise mode type games. So yes, there are other good options out there like Franchise Hockey Manager or East Side Hockey Manager, but in my opinion, when it comes to both the experience and honestly the cost, HLM is the way to go. I honestly can't speak very much for Franchise Hockey Manager or East Side Hockey Manager aside from watching others play them, but from what I know through doing research, getting what I feel is the better game for $10.99 Canadian on Steam when, let's say, FHM 12 is $57.99 and EHM is $21.99, it's an obvious choice for me. It should also be noted that buying HLM on Steam automatically gives you access to Pro mode, which I'll talk about a little bit later, but if you're playing on Android or iOS, you can download the base version of the game for free and then later decide whether or not you want to upgrade to the Pro version for a reduced $5.99 Canadian. Finally, before I get started, you may remember from last year that this is a sponsored video. That sponsorship is not, has never been, and never will be HLM or anyone else asking me to just be a talking head. What I'm here to do is present the features and explain to you the reasons why I like the game while still delivering an impartial analysis just like I do with the EA NHL series. So while I do love the game and want to tell you about it because I think you'll enjoy it if you like playing franchise mode, nothing in this video is meant to make you feel as though I'm just reading off a script and I don't actually believe in what I'm saying. I think that the game is worth the free download and even the Pro version purchase, but that will be for you to decide. 0% of any payment that I receive from this video comes in relation to anything to do with people downloading or purchasing the game, which can allow you to put your trust in me when I say that it is worth it. So let's get things started. This could very easily, as I said, be a 3-hour plus video, not because HLM is complicated, not at all, but because there are just so many options and then options of those options, the customizability of it all is just astounding. So we'll start off with the new features. HLM describes it as primary features and secondary features. So from the screen, I'll show you a little bit as I talk about each one, then I'll show you the corresponding things on the screen. When we're starting a brand new career, you can go through these things. Let's say we're going through classic mode. In my guide on 25, I talk about history mode, battle royale, challenge, expansion, fantasy. What are these things? Which ones can you do with the base version? Which ones can you do with the Pro version? But here I'm going to try and focus as much as possible without going down any rabbit trails on just those new features. So first and foremost, the primary features. If we're in a classic mode, let's start working through these. All right, so here we go. Here on Hockey Legacy Manager's website, let's start with the new primary features in HLM 26. Then we'll take a scroll through a lot of the secondary ones, and that's going to take quite a long scroll. Oh my goodness. These are just, again, it's being on top of the game that is already so great. Oh my goodness. So the primary features, there's 5 new ones in HLM 26, Tryouts, Career Mode, Player Specialties, Relegations, and League Control. Let's get started with this, starting off with Tryouts. So when it comes to a tryout, if you would know if you follow hockey, a player could be signed to a contract, whether it be an entry-level deal or whatever else it might be, or it might be a tryout contract where it's not a guarantee that the player is going to stick on that team for the duration of the season. So reading through what HLM has written here, you can now invite free agents to join your team on a tryout basis during the preseason. So that means if a player is a free agent over the course of July and August or whatever, they can only be signed to an actual contract if you want them. But if they're still available in free agency as of the preseason, you can give them a tryout. This gives you the opportunity to evaluate players before committing to a full contract. So then once the preseason, well, not even once it's over, but once it does come to an end, or even while it's still ongoing, you can release a player from that tryout if you decide that they're not the right fit, or you can then give them an actual contract, and now they're on your team for the 1 year, 2 year, whatever you sign them for. So other teams can send contract offers to your player who is on a tryout. So be careful. Just because they're on a tryout on your team, it doesn't mean that you own their rights. They're just being able to showcase their skills while on your team in the preseason. So even during tryouts, there is competition for talent. So when you manage tryouts, they can be added directly from the roster editor. That can be, so you don't need to, let's say you're starting a save file and you want to add a player to another team that you might not be managing. You can do it from the roster editor. And HLM has also added a new contract type filter on the search page. So you can now filter players by those who are assigned to standard contracts or tryout contracts, making it easier to find exactly who you're looking for. So maybe you want to say, who around the league is on a tryout? Not just who am I trying out, but maybe there's someone else on another team who's being tried out, is doing really super well, and I want to poach them from that team before they sign on to that team who has signed them to the original tryout deal. So just because you might lose them doesn't mean you can't take ones from other teams as well. So this is an awesome feature because sometimes you might have a spot or two in the lineup, you're not sure who you want, you don't want to commit to a whole contract, then you feel bad, you have to dump them for a 7th round pick or put them on waivers or whatever else. No, you can now give them a tryout contract. So if we jump into a save file here, just starting up a random one, not caring about the settings, just starting it up and going to the beginning of the preseason as you do at the start of a new save file, let me show you here. If I go to free agency and I look at the UFAs who are available, you can think, okay, if I click on a player, I don't even need to look at how many years, money, whatever. No, you just click offer tryout. Now, a player like Matt Grzelcyk, who's an 82 overall and wants 1 year at $1.56 million, it's very unlikely that that player will be interested in signing a tryout with me, let alone them having low interest in my organization. So just for fun, I'll click offer tryout to Matt Grzelcyk. It counts as an offer quote being sent, so you won't get an answer right away. You got to wait a day. Let's send it to someone who has high interest, who's a 78 overall, John Ludwig. And let's go to someone like really down here, like let's say like a 70 here, 74 overall, just to show you the example of like 3 different overall type players. So if we advance a couple days or just even one, let's get the answers here. So there you go. Matt Grzelcyk declined. He's too good, plus not interested. But Volkov and Ludwig, okay, they had interest, plus they were low enough overall to think, yeah, I might not be getting another contract offer here. Now, what about someone who has medium interest, who's an 80 overall? Max Pacioretty on a tryout. Okay. Now, this is someone who's on that fringe of will they get a contract, won't they get a contract, and they have some interest. Let's see. Max Pacioretty accepts the tryout. So there is an element of what's that player's interest on my team? Because Max, let's say someone who's a lower overall, like a 79, but has low interest. If I offer them a tryout, I'm quite certain the answer would be no here. Exactly. So it's not always about the overall and the contract that they're looking for. It's more about the organizational interest that they have. It's very rare to see 85 overalls still be free agents in preseason anyways. So you don't have to worry about that too much. It's more the what is their interest towards my organization. But yeah, those higher end players are not going to be interested in a tryout more often than not. So now let's say I have Pacioretty on that tryout. I'm going to go to contracts and I'll see here, okay, these guys have contracts, expiring UFAs, expiring RFAs, etc. But no, Pacioretty just on a tryout. So I can release him or I can offer him an actual contract that he still have to say yes or no to. That's it. And we said that players could be sorted by different contract type. If I go to search, and there's a lot of different things to click on here. But if I go down to contract type, there you go, tryout, which players in the league are on a tryout. Oh, there you go. There's more than just my guys. Here's Smith, here's Shillington, blah, blah, blah. I can go to Shillington. He's there in Carolina, view his profile. What's he up to? Oh, one game, he was a -2. I love it. I want to give him a contract. I could poach him, quote, from the Carolina Hurricanes. So tryouts, one of the new primary features in HLM 26, big stamp of approval. There's also a little bit more information on the HLM 26 feature reveal. We'll talk about this at the end when we go through the secondary stuff, but I'll just look as sometimes there's a little bit more information on each one. So for tryouts, added information or some information that we already saw. Just to recap it, you can now offer tryouts to free agents during the preseason. You can release a player on a tryout at any point during the preseason. Other teams can send contract offers to your players on tryouts. Tryouts can be added from the roster editor and added a contract type filter to the certs page. So there are tryouts. Now back to the main features. We'll move on to the next one, which is career mode. You could kind of think about this as like owner mode in a sense. I've crossed over with how be a GM mode used to be back in like NHL 13 and whatnot, where you have reputation, you have goals and stuff like that, but you're also not having to care about updating the bathrooms of Madison Square Garden as your biggest thing, even though we've won 6 straight Stanley Cups, right? So career mode on HLM, let me tell you a little bit about this. First, starting off with what HLM describes it as. We've added a new career mode that lets you manage hockey teams over multiple seasons, focusing on building your reputation and moving up through the ranks. Don't think it's just NHL, by the way. Let me get into this. Career mode is optional, but offers a more detailed and long-term way to play if you want to take your GM experience further. So first off, build your reputation. Your manager profile now includes a reputation attribute. This changes based on your team's results and how well you meet your owner's objectives. Trading away a player you just signed, for example, will lower your reputation, so your choices matter. So you can see, okay, what's my GM contract? What's my rep? What's my board satisfaction? And based on that satisfaction, that shows how happy the team's owners are with your work. It is affected by similar factors as your reputation, but on a different scale. If the board satisfaction gets too low, you risk getting fired. So you will have a contract and can resign if you want, but resigning will also lower your reputation. So you have to be aware of what contract you're signing and for how long. So board is neutral as your management, risk of losing job, medium, etc. Now here's what's really cool. There is both progression and opportunity. So you can track your total career earnings, cool. And once your contract expires, or if you get fired, you can apply for other general manager jobs in even different leagues depending on your reputation. This is kind of like the FIFA type of career mode, or however you want to call it. If your reputation is high enough, you might even get the chance to manage your national team in tournaments. You can start in the lower leagues and build your reputation over time to reach the major leagues. So what that means is you could start off as the GM of, let's say, an OHL team, build your reputation, then take over an AHL team, build your reputation some more, take over an NHL team. And each league allows you to make trades, has its own draft, etc. It's not just, okay, I'm doing the lines for this team and really the decisions are coming from the NHL. No, I'm able to do it as the GM of this team in this league, just that it's a league that has a lower reputation. As you can see here, let's say Sherbrooke in the QMJHL, semi-pro 2, that's the tier. It's not the major, it's still semi-pro 2, so you have to move yourself up. And what's great is you can keep track of your entire career here. The My Career page now shows your season-by-season results and playoff stats instead of just grouping everything by team. Not just what did you do over 20 years in Vancouver, here's what you did in 2025, 26, 2026, 27, etc., etc., etc. A new jobs page will also let you browse all available GM positions. The job in Sherbrooke's available. The job in Vancouver's available. And you might be wondering right now, why does it say QJL and WJL? If you don't have the pro version of the game, something I mentioned in the HLM 25 guide, HLM doesn't have the rights to use the actual league names, team names, player names, things like that. So probably the biggest reason why I would get the pro version on top of all the crazy features that come with it is just the ability to download custom rosters which have the actual team names, logos, league names, player names, etc. But it's not necessary. It's just, I think it just is helpful in my mind. So just a cooler owner mode is what I could call it, and a callback to like the NHL 13 be a GM type thing. So if we look at our objectives, for example, it's one more thing we can look at right here. If we zoom in on this screen, let's say I'm playing mobile, my objective from the board, reach the second round of the playoffs, achieved, yes, okay. My roster goal, have at least 2 players score 70 plus points in the season. Done. Use draft picks to acquire players that can supplement the current core and provide depth. Great. Finish the regular season in the top 11 of the league for total goals scored. Secure a top 2 finish in the division. These are objectives that actually mean something to me, and that my reputation is affected by it gives actual stakes, not just, hey, did you upgrade the bathrooms? No. Okay, you're fired type of thing. Our ownership is not happy that you haven't taken these things seriously, even though we haven't given you any money to do so, blah, 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 in owner mode in the EA NHL world. So how does that look? Super simple. When you're going to start a new career on HLM, let's say we're going classic mode, blah, blah, blah. Again, actually, not always the Canadians. Let's go mix it up and say Seattle Kraken. How about that? Start career. All I have to do is check off this thing on the left, which is career mode. Manage owner objectives, gain reputation, and climb the ranks to stronger leagues. Yes, please. Turned on. There you go. So now if I press start career, and with that turned on, now on my main screen, I can see, all right, here's my career, my current contract, my reputation, my board satisfaction, and my objectives, not only for 2025, but I can look into the future. What is the board expecting from me in 2026, in 2027, in 2028? These objectives can only be completed during the 28-29 season, for example. So if it says reach the first round of the playoffs, it's not reach the first round of the playoffs by 2028. It's that in 2028, they want me to reach at least the first round. So it's kind of a different way of understanding it, but still, it's nice to know what is coming up in terms of the board's expectations for me. Obviously, the most are in the year that I'm in here in 2025, but just to look into the future, all the awards I've won, my history, I could scroll through, over, like literally, I could scroll through centuries of history, while ENHL gives me no recap of my history in anything and caps it at 25 years. So this is a super cool thing to add in. I would recommend doing it. It's not like draining to have to think about budgets and bobblehead night and when are the promotions happening. It does add a little bit more, so maybe you don't want that, but if you do, it's a wonderful touch, and that's one of the major primary features that we see that is now new in HLM 26. And if there's any details that we may have missed, here it all is once again. Added a reputation attribute to your manager profile. Your reputation determines which teams are interested in hiring you. Reputation fluctuates based on your team's results and your ability to reach owner objectives. Trading away a player you recently signed will lower your reputation. Added board satisfaction tracking. If board satisfaction gets too low, you may be fired. Satisfaction is influenced by the same factors as reputation, but on a different scale. You now have a contract as a GM. You can resign from your position, but it'll lower your rep. You can track your total career earnings. Once your contract expires or you get fired, you can join other teams or leagues if your reputation is high enough. If your reputation is high enough, you may also get the chance to manage national teams in tournaments. You can start in lower leagues and build up your reputation to eventually join the major league. You can set your preferred nationality in the settings. Career mode is an optional game mode. The My Career page now shows results season by season instead of grouping them by team. The My Career page also displays your playoff stats. Added a new jobs page where you can view all available GM positions. Objectives must be completed before free agency. So if you're wondering what's the date for an objective, that's what it is. Added a new email in career mode that informs you of your season objective, and added a new email at the end of the season showing the results of your objectives. All right, on to the next one, tryouts, career mode. Next is player specialties. You can kind of think of this as X factors. And here's an example right here of why I recommend buying pro mode. Yes, you can still see it's Edmonton and Connor McDaniel. You know it's Connor McDavid, but having a custom roster is nice to be able to see the Oilers logo and Connor McDavid. It's not necessary, but just a little extra thing. So players now have player specialties, or if you want to think of them as X factors, then there you go, badges next to their name, and they mean different things and have different impacts on the simulation. So this feature introduces player specialties, a new way to give players unique strengths and to make them stand out on the ice. Specialties can boost specific skills and improve performance in certain situations. So maximum specialties, a player can have up to 3 active specialties at a time. If you had played HLM 25 or previous, then you would know you have specialties sometimes for your assistant GM, your head physio, your head scout, etc. Now we're getting specialties for players. So the amount of active specialties depends on the player's overall rating. We'll get into that. Roster editor, so from the roster editor, you can add or remove them directly. You can have control over that. And also trade value. Having a specialty will make a player more valuable when you are considering trades and the trade bar at the bottom. So what are those specialties? I'll let you read through the descriptions of each one if you'd like, but there is Brute, Clearing Crew, Draw King, Iron Man, Playoff Performer, Power Surge, Puck Magnet, Shield, Shockwave, Shot Stopper, Snipe, Torment, and Visionary. So for example, one like Playoff Performer elevates the player's performance in the playoffs, making game-changing plays and scoring when it matters most. That's awesome, not some random thing like Poise, which we don't know if it has any effect on the simulation. Playoff Performer, player specialty badge next to the player. Okay, that actually means something. Now, what do these different colors mean? Let's look at that. So going back to our Seattle example here, why not? Let's go to the Edmonton Oilers and click on some of those players with those different player specialties. Connor McDavid, let's say. I'm using the pro version, by the way. That's why I'm able to see the logos, the names, the pictures, etc. Custom roster, shout out to RSB. So the player specialties go in 4 levels. So as you can see, the blue is the highest one, level 4 down here, IV. It goes bronze, silver, gold, blue, or platinum, whatever it might be. So gold is level 3, Playoff Performer 3 for McDavid. Now, Visionary 4. So it's whatever the boost is, it's to a higher degree. So we've seen this with the coaches. For example, if we go to the staff here in Seattle, Jason Botterill, okay, view his profile and go to the specialty tree. Okay, so let's say, for example, Mentor accelerates the development of physio by 5%, bronze 5%, silver another 5%, so 10%, gold another 5, so 15, and the last one another 5, so 20%. And to recap it one more time, players can have a maximum of 3 active specialties. Specialties can be added from the roster editor. Specialties can be turned off, hadn't noted that, and specialties increase a player's value. Here they all are with the respective descriptions next to them. So 3 down, 2 to go. We now move on to relegations. Super cool feature to be in that we don't always use if you're just doing a classic franchise mode type of thing. But if you like to add some drama and some intrigue, is this the right thing for you? So reading through what the description has here, this feature adds the option to introduce promotions and relegations between leagues, bringing a new layer of competition and long-term league progression to your saves. So promotions and relegations can be set between leagues that do not have a parent league. So NHL, AHL, that's a parent league, and a junior league doesn't work like that. But as you can see, for example, down here in what HLM showed, you could have a team that has the top 4 that get promoted to the QMJHL. Let me continue on here. Custom rules. You can choose how many teams will be promoted or relegated each season. Decide how many teams get promoted or relegated each season from 1 to half the league. You can also pick the playoffs champion option where only the league champion moves up. So it could be top 4 teams move up. It could be top 16 team makes the playoff, but only one wins the cup, and that one winner, even though they finished 9th, makes the promotion. Could be like that, however you like. Then in the standings, always remind you, the standings page will always have the promoted teams or the teams that are poised to be promoted highlighted in green, while the teams that are poised to be relegated are shown in red, always to remind you who's going where. And finally, at the end of the season, you get notification that in the inbox message showing the promotion and relegations for your league. So promotions are only available in leagues that are not affiliated as minor leagues to any other league. So this is definitely great for users in European leagues where there already is that promotion and relegation that happens in the real world. Now you can apply it to Hockey Legacy Manager. But NHL, AHL, you can't have that the winner of the AHL. Now, let's say the Abbotsford Canucks and the Vancouver Canucks are both in the National Hockey League. You can't do that. But you can have promotions or relegations between 2 leagues that aren't affiliated. So I won't go into HLM and show you that because it's really just this setting. You choose the team you want the winners of the promoted teams or whatever else to be promoted to, and you go ahead and set that. It'll be shown in the standings, and there you have it. A little bit of drama, a little bit of intrigue, and like it says here, a new layer of competition and long-term league progression to your saves. I love it. And to go for it one more time, added the ability to set promotions and relegations between leagues. Promotions and relegations are only available between leagues without a parent league. Added an email notifying the user of promotions and relegations for their league at the end of the season. You can choose how many teams are promoted or relegated per season. Promoted teams are shown in green. Relegated teams are shown in red on the standings page. Finally, we'll look at league control. This is a big one. A lot of things go into this larger feature. Let's start breaking it down. League control, the 5th and final primary addition to HLM 26 before we're looking at the secondary ones. So first, we introduce league control. Here we go, giving you more options to customize and manage how each league operates, along with the new import draft system. This is a big one for assigning players between leagues. You can now manage any league without having to replace the major league. I'll explain in a moment. This also means you can now directly manage the included junior leagues as part of your career. So previously, Even though you were managing the NHL, other leagues were active. The SHL, the KHL, QMJHL, etc. Those were all happening in the background, but the league you were managing was the NHL. Now you can manage any league without having to replace the major league. So just because the KHL isn't the major league of my save file, the NHL is my major league, you only have one, I can still manage the KHL within my same save file, not just watch it happen. I can manage it at the same time. So even the junior leagues, I can go into, let's say I have a prospect who's in the QMJHL, I can go to that QMJHL team and manage that if I have, of course, all the settings on, that I'm in control of that team, etc. But the option to do so is now available. I'll look at that in a moment when we go in, when I show you how it will look in terms of your settings, opening up a save file. You can now adjust also a wide range of settings for any league in your save, not just, okay, let me do stuff with the draft lottery in the NHL. I can also do things with the draft lottery at the same time over in the SHL, in Liga, and so on. So first off, draft options. I can enable or disable drafts, choose the number of rounds, set how many years a player remains draft eligible, and decide which rounds of picks can't be traded for any league, not just the one major league I'm playing with, usually the NHL, any league. I can also draft lottery. It's going to be now available for all top level leagues, so those without a parent league. So there's not going to be a draft lottery in the AHL, for example. Drafting across leagues. A player can now be drafted in other leagues, such as junior leagues drafting 16-year-olds. So that doesn't necessarily mean that just because a player is drafted in that league, they'll play in that league. Like you'll have many NCAA players whose rights are owned by whatever WHL, OHL, QMJHL team, but they're not going to play in that league, just their rights are there. So the players can be drafted in other leagues, such as junior leagues, drafting 16-year-olds. So we see that in the real world. Prospect pages. We now view draft eligible players for any league that runs a draft, not just who are the NHL draft eligible players. I can see who are the KHL draft eligible players or whatever else. As long as that league runs a draft, you can see draft eligible players. Trade rules, you can allow or disallow trades, and trade values will vary depending on the league. Very interesting. I haven't played with this too much where I can see, okay, let me look at the fine details of trade values in the SHL and trade values of here and there, but that's just a cool thing to note. Age limits. Receive inbox notifications when a player is about to age out of a league with a maximum age limit. So if the age limit is 20 and he's turning 20, well, then there you go. Major league draft alerts. Get notified when one of your players is drafted to the major league. So especially if I'm in charge of whatever, a QMJHL team, if one of my players gets drafted to the major league, let's say it's the NHL, I'll be notified of when that happened and not just poof, the player's gone from my team. Contract settings. Control maximum contracts allowed, whether contracts are required, and other contract rules per league. And career switching. Take control of any parent league during your career without having to start over. So just so much control that is at your fingertips and available to you if you so choose. Now here's a big one as well. The import draft system is now involved in all this. So import draft changes how players move into leagues. Instead of players being placed on a random team when loaned to another league, they will now go through that league's import draft, which determines which team owns their rights. So when a player is now old enough to be in a junior league, they will no longer just be placed on a random team. The player will be drafted within that league's own import draft, and then from there, eventually play on that team and be drafted to the NHL, yes. But the import draft will decide where that player goes. So let me show you a bit about that. And just to finish off this, new inbox messages will now appear when a team loans a player to your roster, a player on your roster is nearing the league's maximum age, and a player from your roster is drafted to a higher league. So just being notified as things go along, which is very kind. Now to show you a little bit more about the import draft, if I go into a save file, it's already been going for a few years. Here, this one's in the year 2027. Shout out to the ESL, a league that I'm in, kind of like a GM connected type thing that we run through a Discord server, super fun. If I go to the league and then look at the draft history at the top, now previously this was only available to the NHL, but starting in HLM 26, I can now go to, let's say, the OHL and look at their 2027 import draft. This guy, Baker, was drafted first overall by Sudbury, so he plays in Sudbury. He wasn't just randomly assigned to Sudbury. But then look at this guy, for example, who's played 0 games in the OHL, this guy Parker. This goes into what I was talking about earlier. He was drafted first overall by Owen Sound in the OHL, OHL, yet he's playing in the WHL right now. So just because they're drafted in that league doesn't mean they'll play in that league. OHL and WHL here for this guy, Ken Parker. Same thing if we look over in the KHL, for example. Let's say this guy, Sanikov, was drafted first overall in the KHL, but he's not playing in the KHL just yet. Sochi owns his rights in the KHL, but he's still playing in the MHL with this team whose name I won't even try to pronounce, but he's still playing in the MHL with his rights owned by Sochi in the KHL. Will that player ever come to the NHL? It depends. Like, this guy has semi-pro potential, not going to happen, but I don't know, like minor potential. Interesting. Now, this is really cool. This guy is playing in the MHL, but was drafted in the KHL 9th overall, while also drafted 207th overall by the LA Kings. So the Kings own his NHL rights. This team owns his KHL rights while he continues to play in the MHL. So really cool. I love to see this. It gets you just so into your save file. So you can see the KHL draft. You can look back and look at, I don't know, Liga draft, etc., etc. Super, super cool. Just more and more and more ability to customize and control, and more reasons to love this game. And going over it one last time now, every top-level league, leagues without a parent league, can now have a draft lottery. You can choose if a league has a draft at all. You can choose the number of rounds. The prospect page can now show draft-eligible prospects for each league with a draft. Players can now be drafted in other leagues, junior leagues when they are 16, for example. Other leagues will now have a trade deadline and make trades during the season. So a lot of things will be happening behind the scenes. Players have different trade values depending on the league. Added a new inbox mail that lets you know when players are getting too old for a league with a maximum age. Added a new inbox mail that lets you know when one of your players has been drafted to the major league. During your career, you can switch to control any top-level league. Added a setting per league that allows you to choose the maximum number of contracts allowed. Added a setting per league that lets you choose if player contracts are required. Added a new setting per league that allows you to choose which rounds of draft picks are untradeable. Added a new setting per league that allows you to decide how many years a player is eligible for the draft. You can choose to disallow trades for a league, and added a mail for when a team loans a player to your team. So if you thought that was a lot, get ready for the secondary features now. We'll fly through these a little bit more quickly without going into HLM itself, but just to highlight what else has been added or changed or whatever to HLM 26. All right, so first off, history mode. Now the 1970 season has been added, as well as 2024. Each year that the game goes on, so then HLM 27, the 2025 season will be added to it, and so on and so on. When a team relocates but remains the same franchise, its trade history will also now transfer to the new team. Lovely little touch. Stars of the week and stars of the month. Added an email for the 3 stars of the week and 3 stars of the month. Are really cool to see that. The 3 stars of the month will also include the rookie of the month, and stars of the week and month are visible on the awards page where you can view the full season history. Tournaments, you can now manage any tournament during the season, not just the World Cup. Also change the World Cup format. Now 12 teams, 3 groups of 4 in the first division, then 8 teams, 2 groups of 4 in the second division. It's now played in February with no other games scheduled during the tournament. Removed extra days between games. Tournaments now last 2 weeks instead of a month. That's nice. Added a relegation game and added a third division composed of Hungary, South Korea, Romania, Japan, and Lithuania. Whew. Records, added a league leaderboard for all leagues, and records for the major league will be pre-populated. So it won't just be the records that happen during your save file. They'll already be sitting there and waiting for you. Just a quiet little addition here. Just added the ability to create a women's league. Just period. That's it. Like, what? That would be like a 15-hour deep dive video from EA, and they'd be blasting fireworks from their rooftops in Vancouver, showing how amazing they are. But just here, there's a secondary feature. We added a women's league. That's it. Just like that, no problem. Yeah, thank you. That's cool. Overalls, player types are now included in the overall rating calculation, so exact same as EA NHL World. So you have a sniper and a two-way forward with the exact same attributes. They will no longer have the exact same overall. The player type will factor into what their overall is. Trade AI. When trading a waiver eligible player to a team that does not have roster space for them, the player's trade value will be significantly lower for that team. So for example, if I'm trading a 79 overall goaltender to a team with better goalies in the major league, both are over 80, that will result in that 79 overall having lower value, as the team knows it must risk losing that player on waivers, less ability for you to cheese your trades. Teams will also no longer propose trades that put them over the salary cap when using find trade feature. They won't kind of put themselves in that bad position. Players with contract clauses on rebuilding teams are more willing to lift their clause to join contending teams. Amazing touches. EA, please. Teams will be more patient before attempting to acquire a goaltender when their starting goalie is injured. They won't just do it right away. Okay. Settings. A setting to change the overall ranges for each potential. So now if I want to say only 95 overall plus is elite, I can change that, the overall and potential correlation. Added 52 game seasons as an option. You can now choose to hide goaltender stats individually. Added higher and lower draft class quality settings. Added a setting to prevent AI teams from declining trade offers based on their needs. Added a weekly autosave option. Added 2 new values for salary increase setting. You can now set the regression age per position. So not just regression for the whole league, for goalies, for forwards. What? Added a preset button on the settings page to choose between default or auto simulation, as the auto simulation preset turns off all notifications and allows the AI to manage your team automatically, makes your season simulation go that much faster. The schedule is now more realistic. Okay. Contracts. A message will now be shown when a player rejects a contract offer due to insufficient contract slots or salary cap limits, not just I reject and I don't know why. Added an option to release unsigned players, sending them directly to free agency. You don't have to wait until July 1st. You can take them right out. Replace the salary slider with a salary text field during contract negotiations. Amazing. We want that exact number. Unify the contracts pages on larger devices. Added a negotiation view to the contract list page, allowing you to see the player's requested contracts. Added a footer to the contract list showing projected cap spending for upcoming seasons. Added a buyout indicator for when the buyout period is open. Scouts will no longer scout tier 5 players when using the auto assign feature. Unless you go and tell them to scout those lower players, they won't be scouted in the auto assign. And reduced staff experience gain rate. Commissioner mode. You will now receive injury, training, and monthly progression notifications for every managed team. Teams with AI turned off will no longer manage their staff. Commissioner mode now supports expansion drafts too. Roster editor. You can now set a player's draft history for each league. I'm not going to read through all of these for the roster editor. Basically, you can now do anything with these players. Ability to add players directly to a team while editing the team. Added a search bar to the player editor list. You can now create players with a rating as low as 1 overall. You can now create leagues with up to 80 teams. Added a semi-pro 3 league strength. Added a randomize attributes button when creating a new player. And when converting a roster from HLM 25 or earlier, minor, junior, and all 2024-25 stats will be added to the roster. My goodness, for $10.99 or for $5.99, depending on where you're playing it from, is this not worth it? Oh my goodness. Fantasy draft. Added the option to start a fantasy draft in history mode. That just opens so many doors right there. You can now add staff members to the watch list, not just players. Uploaded community rosters now use the same name shown on the download page. Nice little thing to keep things tidy. And then miscellaneous, huge page of miscellaneous. Teams will take into consideration their organizational depth chart before making a draft selection. Thank you. As if EA can't do that. I don't know how. Salary cap will have bigger increases. Increase the salary cap from 7 to 8, the staff salary cap from 7 to 8 million. Increase the salary ask of players over 90 overall. So many things to look at in miscellaneous right here. Added the top 10 free agents to the free agency mail. Added a watch list filter to the free agency page. Feel free to please pause and read through all of these. Navigation. Merged roster moves, depth chart, numbers, and injury reserve into a single page called roster management. So much more tidy there. And merged tutorial and about into a single page as well on that left side of the screen. Country page. The new country page now displays the following information for the country: number of championships, Hall of Fame players, global rank history by year, scoring leaders per league, top prospects per league. You want to see all the Italians? Boom, there they are. You want to see all the Lithuanians? Boom, there they are. League page, and feel free to pause again and read through anything else there. New league page now displays the following information: general information, number of teams, games, salary cap, current player leaders for goals, assists, points, wins, save percentage, goals against average, current team leaders for points, power play percentage, penalty kill, blah, 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 last 5 league champions, recent trades, a button to view all winning banners, current playoff bracket. This page now merges features from the old league page, which included records, milestones, rankings, draft history. Additional updates: added coach games and wins to the record page, added games started record for goaltenders. Leagues can now be searched using the search bar. Calendar page, updated the calendar page visuals, added the option to view the calendar as a full year or month by month, so you don't need to scroll all the way to the bottom anymore. You can just be in your month. That is a huge, like, minor thing that changes so much. Added a button to return the focus to today's date. If you get lost in the calendar, where are you scrolling up and down on the big annual thing, just press a button, it brings you back to where you are. I had suggested that, and here it is. So that's, I don't even know if it's because of my suggestion, but there's an example of that's something that I suggested in HLM 25, and here it is in HLM 26. So whether or not it was my suggestion that did it, it was a suggestion that was heard and implemented. What a breath of fresh air. Updated all kinds of sidebar visuals, all these things, waiver pages, converted with the page to a list. Draft history page details, the draft history details page now shows player nationality and draft round, added all career stats instead of only points, country filter, draft histories, rankings, average age to the trade power rankings, added the best player to the trade power rankings. Oh my goodness, playoff page, redesigned the page itself, added scoring leaders, bracket, team standing page, team page, player tab, contract tab, lineup page, combined both lineup pages into one redesigned page. Play-by-play, this was a big one here. Updated the interface, improved goal animations, filter the pregame player leaders section by season, last 10 games, last 5 games, going into a game, who did what in the last 5 games before I press play on the simulation. Added line charts for shots, blocked shots, hits, penalty minutes, and goals during play-by-play. Oh my goodness. Draft page, updated design for larger devices. Player and all those other things. Player page, added retirements to the player history section. The award row in the history section now clickable and redirects to the trophy page. Prospect page now displays awards, jersey, milestones. Added a league drop-down menu in the search page. Waiver filter, trade status, trade page. Long pressing on a team opens the team profile page. So many things. The recap. How long is this going to take to just scroll through? It's incredible. Hall of Fame page, Steam, and there you go. These are all the secondary changes. These would literally take and have taken EA decades to do. And that's just from HLM 25 to 26. So everyone, give a big round of applause to the developer and the team behind all of this. And at the very least, give it a download, check it out. And if you enjoy it, if you enjoy franchise mode, this is really a game that I'm sure you would enjoy. It's a lot to soak in if you're thinking, man, Data just read through like a billion things at 1,000,000 miles a minute and he's still going. It's not that these are all things you need to know and memorize and have systems in your mind. No, it's just stuff that's going on in the background that contributes to the system being something that just rolls well. Sure, things can be improved upon it, and I'm sure will be moving into HLM 27, but there's so much that we can be content with, but because just the simplicity of knowing that our cries are heard. So I'm gonna force myself to just stop talking there because I could just keep throwing flowers at this game and keep going over a lot of the features I didn't even mention as I tried to skim through all the quote secondary things. But if I could just show you one last thing, if you're a player from HLM 25, you'll want to see that new play-by-play interface when you go into a game. So for example, if I have this game, Canadiens versus Maple Leafs, just so much cooler. Last 10 games, on both sides. I can see the player leaders down here, what were the other matchups this season, what has happened, which ones are coming up. I can look at different sim speed. I can sim the entire thing, actually, my bad. That's one way to do it. So I can sim the whole thing. Here are the 3 stars. Here's the progression of shots over time in the game, of blocked shots, of hits, of penalty minutes, of goals. How was it? Like, was it a comeback win or what was it? So I can sim through the whole thing. Caulfield, 51 goals. Shout out to him. Okay. I can see the whole thing without having to... I can know the story of the game without having to have sat through that whole game. Or I could sit through that whole game. If I go here, press play, I can play with the sim speed and everything. But when a goal does happen, we'll see in a moment, it's no longer just goal and it pops up on the left. You'll now see on the top, and there it is. Goal, Montreal, woohoo, goal, and then Newhook, Dobson, Hudson. That's newer. Still tells you the player, how many goals he scored and everything. So it's not that all this is brand new, but just it looks a lot cleaner. You could maybe say it's just nicer visually. Then you get tired, you're out of there. Okay, press pause, sim to the end, and now here you go. There you have everything else. 5-4 the final. So ladies and gentlemen, allow me to end it off there. Like I said, I'm going to talk all night if I don't. And let's make this a short outro. This video is already super long, but it's in addition to the 100% guide to everything HLM 25, which still applies to HLM 26 with these new updates that I've shown you today. So in all, if you want to learn every little piece about HLM, yes, it could take you a few hours to listen to someone talk about it, or just go into the game, experiment, play around with it a little bit, find out what you want, what is superfluous to you and you don't need in your playing experience, but just to have the ability to know that it's all there if I want. Not even that I'll necessarily use it, but it's out there. Here's that new calendar that I mentioned as well. You can go month by month. You can press today and brings you back to there, or you can click on month and you can go to year instead. You can scroll through the whole thing. Sometimes I get lost over here. Bring me back to where today is. Boom, there we are with the red box around it. Oh, I love this game. So huge shout out to Hockey Legacy Manager 26. A great game that I really recommend you give it a try, whether it's on mobile, PC, whatever it might be. Download the free version, play around a little bit, and if you're into it, go ahead and purchase that pro version for a fraction of what EA NHL will cost, at like an exponential amount more content coming to you. So thank you so much for watching, ladies and gentlemen. What have you found are, maybe your favorite parts of HLM? What suggestions would you have for the game moving into HLM 27? What did I even maybe miss through all my description of all this? I was going through a million different points. I was definitely going through a lot at once, so it's possible that something that fell through the cracks there. So I look forward to hearing your thoughts in the comments down below, or join us in our Discord server. We're always talking franchise mode, HLM, our own saves. We're gonna have our own live stream series starting soon on HLM here in the channel, where we do franchise mode, MLB, and a lot of other sports management type things. So if you're just looking at this channel trying to figure out a bit about HLM, and maybe you want to know more, maybe watch someone play it, this is the channel for you. Hit subscribe, hit that bell, and you'll be notified when videos and live streams come your way for all the different series that we have ongoing here. A special thanks goes out to HLM for sponsoring this video and for just providing so much to the franchise mode, if you want to call it, community, which is just so thankful that this game exists and continues to get better and better every year. So I thank you very much for watching as well. Leave a like if it was helpful for you, if you enjoyed it, and I look forward to seeing you once again in the next one.